I just saw the perfect date movie. Let's review Traumatica. Traumatica stars Rebekah Kennedy, Emily Goss, and is directed by Pierre Tsigaridis.
This is the fourth child abduction in the past 12 months in the Los Angeles County area.
What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review. We're going to review a movie called Traumatica that I just heard about recently, starring Rebekah Kennedy. If you don't know Rebekah Kennedy, check out Two Witches. Also, Pierre Tsigaridis directed Two Witches. So they're a good team together, and this movie, wow. I'm kind of speechless, even though I'm about to give you a good review on this, but wow. First off, I really enjoyed Two Witches, and it's a movie that I always try to recommend to people if they haven't seen it. There's a little Two Witches Easter egg in this movie as well. If you haven't seen Two Witches, I beg you to give it a watch. You know, these are lower budgeted movies that are directed very well, very creative, but I think they also benefit from the strong presence and performance of Rebekah Kennedy. Two Witches is more of an anthology type movie, but she definitely steals the show in that movie. This is an actress that's just fearless, and we'll get more into her character by the name of Abigail in this movie. So first off, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. Traumatica, as you might imagine, covers child trauma. That's kind of the overall theme of this movie. And it opens in, I believe, 1910 in the desert in the Middle East. Very much like The Exorcist. This is a demon, evil type of movie. And it uses child trauma as kind of a springboard for that theme. And boy, I think it covers it quite well. And when you watch this movie at first, especially if you haven't seen the trailer, you might think that it actually takes place mostly in this house. This is what I call the J-horror section of the movie. It just feels like Japanese horror, going for the jugular in terms of scares and darkness, and really just an overall like haunted house type vibe. That section of the movie takes place in the year 2003, and you might be wondering, why is this in 2003? But you will quickly understand as you go along in the movie, because it bounces from that to the present day for a good reason. And, you know, I say that Rebekah Kennedy plays the main character of the movie, and she is in terms of her presence, but there are a few pivotal characters, actually, in this movie. Emily Goss plays her sister, her younger sister, in the year 2003. She, you know, you would guess is about maybe 10 years younger than her. And so then when we bounce forward to the present day, we're focused more on Emily Goss as an adult. But just to set the table for you as a family, Abigail and Alice, you know, they have a troubled family. There's a darkness in their past. And this demon that is presented in the beginning of the movie, you know, back in the Middle East in 1910, of course, he finds himself presented in 2003. And this demon, he preys on troubled children that have had trauma in their past. And look, this is nothing new. This is covered in a lot of movies. We all know that evil by its nature is attracted to trauma. It doesn't really go for somebody that has a loving family, a stable background. No, it wants a child that has a really rough past and is just much more seduced, I guess, by darkness. And I definitely get the vibe that this is a very personal project for director Pierre Tsigaridis. I don't know his background, but I would imagine, you know, just being an artist by its very nature, especially in horror, there's always an attraction to the darkness and evil by its very nature and how it preys on children. Children being a major theme in this movie. There is this young character, without going into too many spoilers about the movie, by the name of Mikey. And I'm going to draw a comparison to my favorite franchise here, okay? Mikey is a child that has had a very dark past and who is prey for the demon in this movie. At a certain point in the movie, Mikey wears a white ghost sheet. And there is a certain point in this movie where it does sort of turn into a slasher type movie. But I think this movie goes a lot deeper than just a superficial slasher, really digging deep into those themes. And I'll even say Rob Zombie tried to explore this in the first Halloween. I don't think he succeeded that well. I have big problems. I think he succeeded very well in part 2 with Trauma. But in the first movie, I felt like he was just marred by studio interference and really just trying to remake the first movie. I think this movie, not that it's trying to tell the story of Michael Myers, but in terms of dealing with child trauma, I think this movie covers it quite well, and it goes for the jugular. It does not hold back whatsoever. This is not gateway horror, and I can tell you right now, this movie's not going to be for everybody. It touches on some really sensitive subjects, and I would even say it's probably going to be triggering for some people, but I think that's what horror does at its very nature when it's in its purest sense. It can trigger. It can touch on very taboo subjects. And I appreciate directors that are not afraid to explore that. Again, Rob Zombie definitely tries to do that for sure. Now, like I said earlier, Rebekah Kennedy plays Abigail. She is probably one of the most important characters in this movie. We spend a good amount of time with this character, and you really feel her essence throughout the whole thing. As in terms of being a physical actress, I think Rebekah Kennedy gives herself over to it 100%. I think acting as a profession, it's not the easiest thing to do for those that take it seriously, especially for those that try to dig really, really deep and touch on taboo subjects, even controversial subjects. And I appreciate horror actresses that give themselves over to a role. We've seen this so many times. Jane Levy did it in the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe. And there are just countless examples of it going way, way back. And I do think that horror actresses aren't given the credit that they are due, especially by the Academy. Yes, horror has won certain Academy Awards here and there, but I think there are a lot more performances and even movies that are deserving. Like Weapons, in my review, I stated that movie should get an Oscar nomination. I won't be surprised if it doesn't, because horror is passed over quite often. But this character, Abigail, because she is infected for a horrible reason, which I'm not going to go into, you're going to see some very uncomfortable scenes for her. She's going to do like contortions with her body that require an actor to just give everything of themselves over. And you just really have to appreciate the effort. And I think she succeeds. I think she does a fantastic job. I think this is maybe even a stronger performance than Two Witches. Now, I'm not going to lie. I think at a certain point I was wanting more from this movie, but to the movie's benefit, it gives you more because it bounces forward to the present day. There's a point where you feel like it's going to, be a period piece and stuck in 2003. But no, it bounces forward. And I love that this movie is just an ambitious story, and it's trying to give forth every bit of meat that it possibly can. Because at the end of the day, when a director makes a movie, after it's done, it's over. And you can't go back, unless you're George Lucas, and add on to it, especially add on to the end of it and add more to it. So you could see the blood and the sweat and the tears that went into making this movie. And this is a movie that I just heard about like a couple of days ago. And it's a big surprise for me. And again, like I said, there are some of you in the comments that are going to say this movie was just not for me, okay? But I would say if you're just a really big fan of evil type shit in horror movies, then I think this movie's going to be right up your alley, I watched it during the daytime and I was freaked out a little bit. I can only imagine watching it in a theater at night. The sound design must be insane. So I'm giving this movie a purchase worthy for sure. Traumatica. Stay with it. It just gets better and better, and it gives more as it goes along. And I love movies like this, It's low budget. There's very, very little CGI, if any, in the movie. I think in maybe some of the, in small little moments. But overall, it's mostly a practical effects type of movie. So let me know what you guys think of Traumatica in the comments when you get to see it. Looking forward to hearing it. Don't show this to anybody that doesn't like horror. They will kick you out of their house, I promise, all right? You know how when you watch a horror movie, and there's a certain scene in the movie that if somebody were to walk into the room, you would be highly embarrassed? That's this entire movie, okay? I guess that's a good way to stress it. Anyway, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, Review for Fridays. Follow me on Drumdums and on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Become a channel member. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Every day, Drumdum out.